Hello! With Update 2.0, the Bond store got new additions and also some of the tanks that are in there got adjusted as well. For the tanks that were added, we got the Tiger Maus, the SU-130PM, the CS-52 List, the IS-2, the M4A1 FL-10, and the Turan III. And for the list of tanks that were adjusted, we have the WZ-114, as well as the Panzer 58 Mutz and the Alpine Tiger. So in this video, we're going to go through all of these new vehicles because the rest of them I've already spoken about in my previous video. This is simply just an update video to let you know what I think you should spend your bonds on. But I will say before I go any further, the bonds really are down to you, what you want to buy. I could tell you that this tank is bad, this tank is good. It doesn't really matter. If you enjoy that tank or want to get that tank, then go and get it. Let's first start out with the vehicles that have been adjusted, and then we'll work our way up to the new vehicles. Starting out with the Alpine Tiger. The main change for this vehicle is that it got a better gun. This now has better soft stats regarding the gun handling. It also has better aim time, better accuracy, and more DPM. The engine power also got boosted, and now you have 15 power to weight. You still go at 50, which is really nice. You need to obviously remember that this is a preferential premium vehicle as well, so you're never ever going to see tier 10. I do think that this is still a very, very good purchase to make because one, it's very useful for the trade-in, so even if you got it and you thought, you know what, I don't really want it, and then you can just go and trade it in for a different vehicle. But if you do get it, then I do think that this isn't a bad choice. The only problem is that it doesn't really have that much pen. 196 for the standard round is going to be very lacking, and then 250 for the premium, even though there is heat and that's quite good, it's not excellent, even if you don't meet tier 10. So I'd maybe put this up to consider. I do think that it's probably better than a 112 now, considering that this has a lot more DPM and just is a little bit more flexible than the 112, but it doesn't have the armor of the 112. The Panzer 58 Mutz actually received a pretty substantial buff. Now, if you enjoyed this vehicle previously, you're going to absolutely love this thing. It still has the pretty good base accuracy of 0.34. You have a 2.3 second aim time, but your DPM is now much more because your alpha damage has increased from 250 to 300. The mobility has also increased. You now go at 55 km/h instead of the 50 from the previous patch. You also have a better power to weight. So this might actually be a pretty good choice, and it's still only 8,000 bonds. I know that it does recover. It's because I've bought it on this account, but it is 8,000 bonds. And for that price, I think that this might actually be a pretty good purchase for some people. If you want to have a tank that is going to be a sniper medium, it has no armor, but you are more than fast enough to get around the map and have a good gun, then this might be for you. And I will repeat what I said about the Alpine Tiger. On all of these vehicles, the best feature about bond store vehicles is that you can trade them in and then just buy them back for bonds again if you want to. So if you do go ahead and get this vehicle and then think, I don't really like it, then you could always trade it back in and get something different for the next trading event. And the last vehicle that was changed is the WZ-114. My beloved. Such a good little WZ. This thing got a gun buff, but most of it is to do with the soft stats. The aim time did go down from 3.9 to now 3 seconds, which is lovely, but also the soft stats got buffed massively, which affects the bloom levels. Now, I don't think that this is now going to be a mass appeal vehicle to many, many people, but I do think that it is better than it was, and it can be funny. The main idea about this vehicle is that it is just hilarious to play, and should you spend 11,000 bonds on it? Well, to be honest with you, now that tier 9 premiums have been buffed and they're basically on par with tier 8 premiums for the earning potential, maybe. But I do still think that there are better vehicles in the bond store if you actually want to have a tank that's competitive. Because yeah, this thing still has 1,590 DPM. We now move into the vehicles that have been added to the bond store in Update 2.0. Starting out with the Turan III. Straight away, you'll see that this is 2,000 bonds, which is 1,000 less than the Panzer IV Hydrostat, but it is 500 more from the T-34S and the RBFM. Now, this vehicle is your typical tier 5. It's not really excelling at anything. It's kind of slow, actually, with 13 power to weight, even though it does go at 40. You don't have any armor. The gun is okay for a tier 5. It does have soft stats that aren't so great, lots of bloom, etc. But I think that really, if you're looking at buying a tier 5, you should just go ahead and buy the RBFM and then be happy. If you already have an RBFM, I'd save up your bonds and get something a bit different. We now have the M4A1 FL-10. As you'll see, this tank is 1,000 bonds more than a TOG-2, and the TOG-2 is extremely funny. This, however, is a little bit more of a competitive vehicle. You can do very, very well in this tank, and if you have a platoon of these, you can do a lot of damage. This is an M4A1 hull with the FL-10 turret, the same one that you get on the EBR-75 FL-10, although the gun isn't quite as good as that. This one has a 4-shell autoloader muzzleloader with good enough accuracy, good enough aim time, and penetration is good as well. The whole idea of this vehicle is to be an assassin tank. You have absolutely no armor, you have a good enough power to weight with good enough top speed, and you also have view range of 370 meters. I personally do really enjoy this vehicle, and if you are someone that understands about the assassin role in World of Tanks with the clip potential, then you probably will do very well. Is it better than a TOG? Yes. Is it as fun as a TOG? Not if you're in a platoon. But if we are talking about tier 6 vehicles that I would personally pick, then it'll probably be the FL10, Tiger 131, and a TOG. Mainly the TOG because it's a TOG, and a Tiger 131 because it's a Tiger 131. If I actually wanted to do this, say, objectively speaking, and which is the best vehicle, it's definitely this one. We now talk about the IS-2, not to be confused with the IS-2S, which is exactly the same amount of bonds. This goes for 6,000 bonds, the same as all the rest of these tier 7s in the bond store. Is this a good vehicle? It's okay. It has exactly the same stats for the gun as the IS in the tech tree. However, the soft stats for the gun are a little bit worse than the IS, but not by much. It's probably not that noticeable. And you are also slightly slower than the IS in the tech tree, but not by top speed, only by power to weight. So really, what you're buying is a premium version of the IS. Yes, there are a few little tweaks here and there that are slightly different from the IS to the IS-2. However, if you know what you're doing in the IS, you'll know what you're doing in this vehicle. But I will say the same thing that I always say with tier 7s is that they're not that far away from a full-blooded tier 8 premium vehicle. For 2,000 more bonds, you can go and get a tier 8, which will earn you more credits. And that's always something that you should have in the back of your mind. Can I save up a few more bonds or 2,000 more bonds and then go and get a tier 8 vehicle, which will earn you more in the long run? We now come to the CS52 list for 8,000 bonds. This is by far the best vehicle in the bond store for tier 8. However, there is a very big caveat to that because this tank has two modes. You have the mode of the standard rounds and the mode of the premium rounds because the tank transforms massively when you choose either. It goes from just being okay to good for the standard rounds to being extremely good for the premium rounds. Now, you may look at this gun and say, Max, that doesn't look like that big of a difference. 320 alpha, which is very nice. The standard pen is 208 and the premium pen is 252. That is a difference, but it's not like it's a massive step up. And you would be correct, but the difference comes from the shell velocity. The standard rounds by default has 980 meters a second shell velocity. The premium rounds has 1,569 meters a second shell velocity. And if you were to use the perfect charge cruise skill, that goes to well over 1,700 shell velocity. It really does transform this vehicle from just being a good gun to an excellent gun at tier 8. Not only that, but you really don't have loads and loads of ammo. So yes, you can go 50-50, but you're probably going to run out quite fast. It only has 35 shells. For the rest of the stats on this vehicle, you need around about 200 pen, 210 to go through either side of the gun, and the hull armor, you just forget about it, you'll get pen there every single time. You go fast enough at nearly 20 power to weight, 50 top speed, you have 380 meters view range, and your camo rating is better than a Gorilla. In fact, it's basically double. So yes, this is a very good vehicle, and I don't want to give you the impression that it's absolutely useless without the premium rounds, because it's definitely not, but it does transform this tank dramatically when you do use them. So I think I've said enough for you to make your own mind up on if you want to get this vehicle. It is probably better than all of the mediums at tier 8 for the bond store, if we're being honest, and when you do use the premium round, it then goes even higher. We now have the SU-130PM for 10,000 bonds. Now, the SU-130PM is an excellent choice for people who understand how to play these types of vehicles, because I do feel like it's very easy just to go and pick the one up and just do 1 or 2 shots of damage, but to actually master how to do lots of damage in this, it does take more refinement. The gun is the best gun out of all of these tanks. 520 alpha damage, 243 standard pen, and 320 heat pen for the premium round. You have 0.35 accuracy, 2.3 second aim time, and you nearly have 2.3k base DPM. This is a very good tank. However, it is 10,000 bonds, which racks it up real close to what the tier 9 premiums are. And I think for the average player, you would do better in something, say, like a Tiger Mouse than you would in this vehicle. However, there is something to say about tier 8s is that more modes are accessible to them, such as Frontline, Onslaught Light, etc. So you could play them in there as well as the random queue. For the rest of these stats, you're more than fast enough, 65 top speed, 16 power to weight, you have 360 meters view range, which is to be expected for this type of vehicle, and your camo rating is very good. But really the only downside is that it costs 10,000 instead of the 8,000 bonds of most of the other tier 8 premiums. It is better than most of these vehicles, and you will probably have fun in it and earn pretty decent credits, but you are getting very close to these tier 9s. So if you want a sniper TD, this is your choice. You don't really have any other option. I mean, you could pick a T103, but not really a sniper TD. And finally, we have the Tiger Mouse for 11,000 bonds. This is exactly the same price as the WZ-114, and straight away I'll tell you, the Tiger Mouse is better. You have a gun which has 246 standard pen and 311 premium APCR pen. You have 530 alpha, good enough dispersion, and aim time is okay. Not to mention that you have much more DPM than the WZ-114. You don't, however, have as much hit points as the WZ-114, but you do have 1,950. You go at only 32 kilometers an hour with 10 power to weight. You are definitely very, very slow, but your turret is super, super strong. If we go ahead and look at the armor profile, you'll see that this, you are needing 300 pen to go through the turret phase. This is stronger than a Maus at tier 10. The hull armor is not super great, if we're honest. You can get overmatched on the engine deck by anything greater than 120 caliber gun, and you do have a very, very large lower plate. You can side scrape in this vehicle though, and it is very effective. If you were to do something like this, then they don't really have much of a chance against you. And even if they were to use premium with 311 pen, it's still only a 66% chance to go through flush. And look at all the little spots that you could actually bounce on. But you do need to be careful when you're rocking up and down in this vehicle because you can get overmatched underneath. Lots of players do this. They start rocking backwards and forwards when they're on reload, and easily they get shot there. Because of how large this overhang actually is and your side armor in general, you will get penned. So is this tank worth 11,000 bonds? If I'm going to be completely honest with you, yeah, this is probably the best tank you can get out of the bond store now, at least for most people. As I said right at the very start, there will be people that want a different vehicle, but I think that for the average player, you could just get one of these tanks and you'll probably do pretty well in it and earn some credits with it. Considering that tier 9 premiums have been buffed now with their credit income, it does make sense to choose one of these. And going back to the mention about the SU-130PM and events, there are less events that use tier 9s. However, if you purely are just going to play random battles and grind a load of credits, this is a very, very good choice. So hopefully that has updated you with the bond store. If you want to watch how I feel about the rest of these vehicles, then go and watch my original bond store video, which I made a few months ago. Any vehicles that I didn't mention in this video will be in that video, and they haven't really changed, my thoughts included. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.